trying to do something for my big monster class right now. So, Gilgamesh.
Wait, Gilgamesh. Oh no. I read that last year.
Gilgamesh, Genesis, Greek, okay. Agamemnon, Medea, Lysistrata. Lysistrata. There's Agamemnon needs to be italicized. That's what's not done. Okay.
Wait, wasn't Gilgamesh the one that killed the Cyclops while it was a bear?
That's Greek. Gilgamesh is Sumerian. So he's a bad guy he's a bad king, and so they create his doppelganger, Enkidu, to combat him and teach him how to be a better person. And so he ends up trying to find immortality and doesn't get it. So that's a long story short. Lysistrata.
Oh no, I read it. I just couldn't remember.
Well, a lot of that old stuff, it's hard to remember. I get it. So I've got Gilgamesh right there. I don't have the Bible. Okay. Browse. Okay. Interesting. Fall 2021. I'm creating a works cited. Okay. Save. Okay.
What is next door to make that sound?
There is a nursing class next door, is the issue, and they must be showing video. Because that sounds like, that's so regular, it sounds like a video recording. Hey Martin, hey Post, we're going to talk about doing deep personal revision today. Okay, let me get to class. Okay. All right. I need to make one more comment on this. Guidal lines. I can't spell. Okay. All right. So one of the first things that's going to happen. Here's the good news. Oh, yeah, we're a whole minute early. Is that I'm going to push the due date back on the narrative to Sunday night. And one of the reasons is that I would do it Friday if I were going to have access and be able to start printing out essays to grade, but I'm not going to be able to. I'm going to Health Center Friday morning, and then I have a meeting in Levelland at noon, so I won't have an opportunity to get any printed, and I'm not going to use my own paper and ink. That gets too expensive, so, well, it does. I'm just being realistic. So that's why I'm going to move it back to Sunday night by midnight, and what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take you into your class and I'm going to show you exactly what happens when you do something through Turnitin, okay? So, don't really need to be in Purdue Owl, but that's where I was for what I was doing as you guys came on. Here we go. Well, I don't even have one of y'all's classes up, so here, let me go into yours. And so you can see what, I can talk about exactly what happens. So you go into course content on Sunday night, and you can do it sooner. You don't have to wait until Sunday night to do this, okay? Go into week 4, and you're gonna see down here, well, you're gonna see there's the checklist, and I need to change the date on the checklist for when the essays due. There's your quizzes that are due tomorrow. Chapter 6 and 7 opens up at 8 a.m., they close at midnight. They have the right number of points in them. I went and looked at it a couple of days ago and saw that they were at 100, so I got them switched back to 15, so that that's consistent. And then, but turn in final of narrative here. When you see the red arrow and the piece of paper, that tells you it's a Turnitin document. So you'll just go into view complete. Well, you may not have access to that. It takes it just a second to open up. And normally it should put your name here where it says author. I'm not an enrolled student, I'm the instructor. So I have to put my name in. Okay, and submission title is going to be narrative, final. All right, and then it gives me what can I submit, and it says choose from this computer, choose from Google Drive. Yeah, you can choose from Google Drive, but if it's not a Word document or PDF or an RTF, it won't upload. Okay, so I always go choose from this computer, and I'm going to pick, we'll just go with 5 tips for writing a good narrative essay. And notice it said the word upload. Y'all have that? It said upload. It didn't say submit, it said upload. Okay, and it'll give you the title of your document, so if it doesn't say narrative final, I'd be cautious about it. But I'm going to click the word upload. It's not submitted, all I'm doing is uploading. And it takes a little bit of time, and then you get a preview, and this shows you your document. So if you have the wrong essay, and by golly, you know what you can do if you can't read it? You can just make your screen bigger so that you can read it. Like I just did, blow it up so I can say, oh wait, I don't want to turn in 5 tips for writing a narrative. That would be wrong, okay? So you can take the document off if you accidentally turn in the wrong document. At this stage, you'd have to hit cancel. But if it is the correct document, it's not submitted, I have to click the word confirm, and then up here at the top of the page it says, congratulations, your submission is complete. This is your digital receipt. Take a screenshot of that and save it, and that way you have it. If you don't have this, then you haven't submitted it, okay? You have to go through that process. You have to upload and then confirm and then get your digital receipt. And if you upload it and nothing shows up, then it's an unreadable document, okay? So that's how you do it. So what I'm going to do very quickly is I'm going to go back in now to that, and I'm going to change the due date to Sunday night. First things first, let's do it here on the checklist. Edit, so that we have all that right. Okay, final narrative by midnight, Sunday, 9/26, okay? And then I'm going to go down here, and I have to edit it to change it. Just takes a second. So, start date, here we go. There's the due dates now to the 26th, and everything's cool in there. So that quickly has happened. So now if you go into course calendar, under syllabus and schedule, you will see that it shows up on Sunday. Remember, that's always a good checkpoint. If you're not sure when something's due, you can always do that. But the quizzes will not open up until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Okay. Let's talk about deep personal revision. So I hope you have a copy of your essay. If it's online, that's fine. I am going to offer this as extra credit. Okay? If you do this document, and there's a lot to do to get 10 extra points, but that's the difference in a letter grade right there, isn't it? Because this is worth 100 points. I don't have to do any kind of conversion like I did with the paragraphs, where it was only worth 30. So I just took whatever I gave you and multiplied it by 3 and moved the decimal point. That's how quick that is. I always do shortcuts when it comes to math. That's the easiest way to do it. So one of the things we're going to talk about, we're going to spend, part of the time is going to be spent doing deep personal revision, making sure it's formatted correctly, okay? So here we go. Computer, that's what, I had to think about what button I'm going to push. All right, so then that's what these 3 pages have for you. It says, check the format. Do you have an MLA heading? If it is a header, if it shows up on, if you have 2 pages and it shows up on both pages, you've done a header, not a heading. Go back to that, formatting the documents for class for me in week 1, and that starts on the first line of where an essay would begin. Okay, so it needs to be a heading, not a header. Make sure you spell my name correctly, and make sure you capitalize the first letter of your last name. I have a student, everything they've turned in has had the last name has a little letter instead of a big letter. Capitalize proper nouns, okay? Make sure you have the correct course name, the course, and the section. If you don't have the section, that's not following the guidelines. And I hate to take off points, but I will. So if there's any kind of big formatting issues, you lose points. And there's Mateo. Hey, Mateo, grab one each of the pages, okay? So we're going over deep personal revision right now, okay? All right, then the date should always be day, month, year, and that doesn't mean you get to go 9/24, actually, hold on, it should be 26. I just moved the date back on the narrative to Sunday night, giving you a couple extra days to turn it in by, okay? The date should be day, month, year, so your final date on this essay should read in the heading 26 September 2021. Notice the only punctuation is the period after the T in September, because I abbreviated it. There's no commas, there's no other marks of punctuation. But notice there's spaces between 26, there's a space in September, then the period, then a space in 2021. Don't smush everything together. That's because they don't teach keyboarding anymore. I mean, I took typing. I am so old that I took it on a manual typewriter that you had to push these keys down really hard, and then you had all these little fingers that had all the letters of the alphabet, and all the characters would come up, and if you typed too fast, they would get tangled, and you'd have to stop and untangle them. And then when it got to the end of the line, the carriage actually, you would type and the carriage would move this way as you're typing, so you know it's going. And then you'd hear a ding, which was telling you were getting close to the margin, and then you'd grab this handle and you'd smash it back. It's word processing is so much better now, though we still make mistakes, okay? The title should be the same size as the rest of the essay. It should not be bigger, it should not be bolded, it should not have extra spaces above it and extra spaces below it. It's just, everything is just a single return. You don't do anything fancy. There's no underlining, there's no caps, and there's no bolding on the title. It should be centered. I was looking at a draft yesterday, and they had centered the entire essay. That's a problem. You've got to remember to take it off the center. Your font should be the same throughout. We don't get to switch fonts. Someone had one font in their heading, then their title, and then their essay was Times New Roman. And it's very obvious. Look at your document and make sure it looks the same, right? I mean, it should look pretty in the sense that it should look uniform, all right? If it looks odd, then something's wrong. Fix it. Don't turn it in broken. The margins are 1 inch. Don't mess with the margins. You can leave them at 1 or 1 1/4, whatever it is. But you need to double space, and you need to double space before you start typing. Once again, if you say, oh, I'm just going to double space after I get everything done. Well, the default in Word is 1.15 between lines. So when you double space 1.15, it comes up to 2.3. So it creates some odd looking spacing for me. And please make sure to indent the first line of every paragraph. I'm still getting them not indented, but with an extra space between. I don't know where you learned that from. That's not academic. We indent paragraphs. Okay. The introduction. So that's basically formatting right there. It's all right in there. Make sure you follow it. And if you're not sure, always go back to the formatting documents for class that's in week 1. Introduction. Does it begin with an overly broad or generalized statement? An epic opening. I don't have a problem with that, per se, so long as you don't keep everything at the epic level. It says, do you include a hook of some kind? Sometimes the epic opening could be your hook. Do you lead your reader to the thesis statement? There's no big jumps in logic. It's like you say, if we're going to write about a hero, most people think heroes wear capes and have superpowers. And if that's your opening sentence, then you go, my dad is the best hero of all. There's a big jump between your dad and that. You have to go. In reality, most heroes are just ordinary, everyday people who do their jobs and do them well. My dad is such a person. He's a hero. You see how now everything logically moves from the broad statement to the specific statement, and they're all connected. And is the thesis the last sentence of the intro? It needs to be the last sentence. because what I've seen is I would get a decent thesis that actually had some sections in it, when people are writing narrative, but then they go, my father is the greatest dad there ever's been. That would be the final sentence. That summation or the whole point about your dad needs to go down in your conclusion. You need to end the intro with a thesis. Don't have something else after it. And don't have your thesis be 3 sentences long. You know, my dad taught me this, my dad taught me that, my dad taught me that. That's 3 sentence long thesis. So let's try to get it into one. Make it nice and concise. And I'm talking with my hands, aren't I? Okay. I do that all the time. Identify your thesis statement. So what I want you to do to get the extra credit for 10 points, which you guys will bring a marked up copy of a draft of your narrative to me on Monday to get this extra credit, the letter grade. The kids at the high schools will have to turn it into their facilitators on Friday. Because if they don't have it turned in, they don't turn the paper in on Friday, I don't want them to have to, then there'll be that excuse, well, I left it at home and I didn't turn it in. You'll give it to your facilitators and they will email it to me. And that way, that's the only way you'll get the extra credit. But you guys at the schools need to do it on Friday. That's the wonderful thing about scanning and faxing. No, we don't fax anymore. We scan and email. When I originally taught on ITV, everything was faxed. You had to dial the numbers. It took forever. Okay. All right, so your thesis statement should be a 1-sentence summary that clearly and succinctly tells what your essay is going to discuss, what the premise or main idea is. It's going to tell the reader what you're going to discuss and possibly the order. If you have more than 3 paragraphs, if you have 3 paragraphs and you're just going to say, my dad has been a very positive influence in my life, that's your thesis, then that one body paragraph is going to tell me how he's that positive influence, what he's done for you. Or if you're going to write about the time you rolled your truck, that's fine. That could just be 1 paragraph. I learned that my parents were right when they told me to drive safely. And then you talk about rolling your pickup truck. That could, you see where I'm going with that? So underline your thesis statement. Does it have a main idea? If you're not sure, MI's main idea. Do you have key points? If you do have key points, I have somebody in my 9 o'clock class who's going to write about the 3 things they would do if they had $1 million. So they're going to have a thesis that says, I would pay off my parents' debt, I would buy myself a new truck, and I would travel around the world. That would be the 3 parts of their thesis, and I would see 3 body paragraphs that would go back to that. And once again, it asks, is it the last sentence in your introduction? That's where it needs to be. The problem with the STAR test is that you could put it anywhere you want. It could be the last sentence of your essay. It could be your thesis. That doesn't teach organization. That's teaching let's pass the test, right? Isn't that what y'all were taught for the STAR? Pretty much, yeah. Let's pass it. To conclusion. We jump to the conclusion because in a way it's like the introduction again, isn't it? So does it begin with in summation or in conclusion or something along those lines? Guess what? Remove those phrases. The last paragraph of your essay should always be a conclusion. And so, like on a lot of drafts, I didn't see conclusions because they hadn't written them. But we'll just sneak it in there. She's not going to read the whole thing. Yeah, guess what? I did. I've read them. All of my Monday, I've gotten through, I like about 5 or 6 to finish. I like a section and a half to finish Tuesday, Thursday, because there's so many of them. And that dadgum kitten we rescued takes a lot of time. Let me tell you. I feel like a mother of a baby now. Okay, so remove in summation or in conclusion. I didn't bother to mark those off on your drafts. I know you were taught that to do that in school so that it signals to the reader that this was the end. You weren't? Some people...
My English teacher, she basically, from freshman year to senior year, she prepped us for college.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I can tell you're a pretty good writer, okay? That's why the last paragraph, you don't have to say in summation or in conclusion. And please, whatever you do, don't say, with that being said. You'll write a paragraph and then the next paragraph you'll go, with that being said, blah, blah, blah. Those are wasted words. It's okay to do those when you're giving a speech. With that being said, the next major point, don't do that. I'm a great reader. If you've said it, I remember it. So you don't have to say with that being said. That's a lazy way to try to move to another point.
And let's not please quote Stanley, enough said.
Yeah, enough said, don't do that, yeah. And I've gotten some people who are quoting, just don't put the whole quote in the beginning and put the whole quote in the end. Just pull something important out of it, okay, for the final. Do you include a restatement of the thesis? You can. It should not be the exact same words, but it should be kind of in the same order. I've had somebody on the draft who changed the order in their summation, or in their restatement of the thesis and the conclusion. And I'm kind of like, that will ping on me, and I go, wait a second, is that the same order they gave in the introduction? I will try to match up the sentences. That's why I can recognize if they're the exact same words. Underline it. Have you summarized? Good heavens, I did a bad job typing this. The essay and the conclusion. Make sure you have not repeated exact phrases. I can pick up on that. It's 500 words minimum. It's not that long. If you repeat the exact same words, I know it, and I'm gonna say unhelpful repetition. It doesn't bring anything new. And do you include a so what? That's that lesson. What's the lesson that mom and dad taught you? That I should not text and drive. That's a bad thing to do, because I rolled my truck. That's one of my students on Tuesday, Thursday. She didn't roll her truck, she rolled her car. And she was outside, she was almost home. There's that big hill before you go down when you go down into El Paso. She rolled it on that hill. Yeah. Trying to avoid a coyote. And she was texting her parents at the time when it happened. Said, I'm almost home. You're almost home permanently, She wasn't seriously hurt, but it was lucky. So why is it important for the reader to consider what you've written? Because my dad, even though he's not a millionaire, he doesn't do all this stuff, he's been a great dad. He's taught me a lot of stuff, okay? That's the important thing. So topic sentences, TOPS, this should be the first sentence of every body paragraph, unless you're writing a straight narrative and you only have 3. Don't begin with, on the night of March 6th, the weather was bad. That's not a great topic sentence. The night the tornado hit my house was terrifying. There we go. And then you can talk about the entire night that tornado hit your house, right? See how that's a better topic sentence. So try to avoid dates. If you're doing a narrative, if you're doing the 3 points, it's a little bit different. But a topic sentence, in a body paragraph, a topic sentence should never have a quote in it. Quotes are evidence. You can begin an introduction with a quote, that's not a problem, but not a body paragraph, that's evidence. That's so much more specific. A topic sentence has to be general. So if the quote says, enough said, what else are you going to write in the rest of the paragraph if you begin with that? Nothing. Ain't nobody got time for that. Come on, you guys have seen that one. Oh yeah, that's hilarious. That's been out for what, 10 years or something?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Okay, sorry. I might have to go watch that just to make myself smile. Okay. Don't use quotations. Don't set up a summary or define a word. Please, whatever you do not use, according to Webster's dictionary, a hero is blah, 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 blah. Do not start a paragraph that way. And don't quote from the dictionary. It's fine to quote from the dictionary for a high school paper, but not for a college paper. Okay? And it should not really be a transition sentence. So provide a clear focus for the paragraph. The night the tornado hit was terribly scary. There you go. I know you're going to write about the night the tornado hit. Then you can say, it was March 3rd, whatever. You can start getting specific and go linearly through the events. Convey the information you present in the paragraph. The topic sentences should be in the exact same order as listed in the thesis. This deep personal revision is set up to work for any document. Though many narratives aren't going to have a multi-part thesis. You're just going to say, the night the tornado hit was very terrifying for my family. There's your thesis, that's fine, and then your topic sentence, okay? But you always have to follow the exact same order. It's all about, the more you follow the order that you give in anything, the better organized your essay will be. You didn't by chance do informative or persuasive, did you, Jose? But if you were taught to write an argumentative or informative essay, you could give an informative or essay speech, because you use the same thing when you speak. Except you might say, you might in your conclusion go, my first point was this. You might actually orally say that. In an essay, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, we never actually did narratives in school, because
they're not that great for you.
Yeah, or my teacher would say that.
And that's one reason why we write narratives, because that's what most of these kids have written on their STAR test. So, okay. The topic sentences should have all their own paragraphs, should all have their own paragraph. Each topic sentence should have a paragraph. And are there any not listed in the thesis? I got an essay yesterday that had like 4 body paragraphs, and I'm like, where's this one coming from? So be careful about that. You can't insert an extra paragraph and talk about new information that hasn't been covered in the thesis. It's all about unity. Okay, and supporting sentences. Does each sentence in a paragraph relate to the topic sentence, or do some of them belong in another paragraph or not even in the essay? So as you're looking at it, put your finger, your pen, your pencil on your topic sentence, then read it, then move to this next sentence, and so on. If you cannot read, notice it has in parentheses up there, not infer. Inferencing is a huge thing that the state of Texas thinks everybody needs to do. So that a lot of times when students write, you leave out stuff because people can infer from what you've written. Good writers don't make you infer. We're not writing mysteries. I've gotten thesis statements that were like, the most tragic thing that ever happened to me taught me a lesson. That's the thesis statement. I have no idea what they're writing about. I have to read through the entire essay. This was not to be a mystery, okay? I want you to tell me what you're going to tell me, and then tell me you told me, okay? So don't make it a mystery, because if I'm having to guess what you're writing about, it becomes a problem. The reader doesn't want to have to work, not at this age, okay? If you cannot read a direct connection between the topic sentence and the sentences in the paragraph, you're missing something. Either revise, remove, or move or remove. So that means if I say, if I'm starting off and I'm going to talk about the night the tornado hit, my house was terrible, and then I start talking about my car, and I'm not even talking about the weather, make sure this sentence, there's words in the topic sentence, then the words in the second sentence, you can connect those words to what went on in the topic sentence, more specific, and that should happen all the time, particularly with the narrative. If you're telling linearly or chronologically what happens in the story, there should always be a connection between them. You can't just, and please don't start to do stuff. I started to get in the car. If you start to get in the car, then you have to finish getting in the car. Then I got in the car. Boo-hoo, why don't you just say, I got in the car? That's one of those things about don't give every little detail. It started to rain. Why don't you say, the rain came pouring down? That's much more exciting than it started to rain, okay? Now, are y'all with me on the tips I'm giving you? Okay. Sorry, I know this is going to get boring. Let's see. Does each sentence transition smoothly into the next? And make sure you're not being redundant or circular, saying the same thing just in 2 or 3 different ways. It's like if you're writing about how your mom is always there for you, she always supports you in everything you do, and she's always there for you. That's circular. You just keep repeating the point. Tell me, don't show me. Oh, wait. Don't tell me, show me. Show me how she's always there for you, okay? Don't just say she's always there for me. She gives me everything I want. Well, you're nice and spoiled, aren't you? Okay? Okay. Let's see. We're sentence structure and length. This is a tricky one. Do you vary your sentence length? I looked at a narrative yesterday that all of the sentences were about 6 to 8 words long in the introduction until they got to the thesis. Be careful about writing lots of short, choppy sentences. So how many long sentences? I want you to go, you can tell. You can tell if you've got 23 words. If you read the sentence and it goes 3 lines, you probably have 23 plus words, okay? If you have any extra long, got to watch out for those because you might have a fused run-on or a comma splice in there. How many medium sentences? 11 to 22, okay? How many short sentences? Less than 10. Why is it important to vary your length? So you don't bore the reader. Now, if I were going to write about that awesome basketball game I played, actually I'm going to use football. I didn't play football, but, football, a lot of football plays are short and choppy, aren't they? This happens, they're like quick and short, unless you have a long play. So if you were going to write about winning a football game, and let me tell you, one of the worst essays I ever got was from a student, 5 pages about how he won the football game on his own. There were not 10 other people on that field blocking for him. Oh, Lord, it was bad. Okay. Well, depends on what school you go to, right? But if I were going to describe a play, and this and this and this happened very quickly, I could use short, choppy sentences. But instead of short, choppy sentences, I could use short, choppy phrases that are part of a longer sentence. And that kind of indicates that the movement through the action is happening quickly. Okay? But so avoid a lot of 5 to 8 word sentences. Those are pretty bad. And why is it important? So you don't bore the reader. Okay, and do you need to revise to have more long, medium, or short sentences in the essay? A short sentence on its own can be very effective. And Jose brought this up, he's going to use a fragment. So he used a method where you footnoted it so that he's got fragment. He just puts like a number in fragment. all you have to do is put fragment in parentheses. You can just put frag in parentheses right after the sentence where a fragment occurs, and I won't count it as a fragment. Because I understand we want to make choices, and sometimes we just want to say, crap, right? Or whatever the emotion is, you don't want to write it all out. But you've got to let the teacher know that you know you've written a fragment. You're not professional writers yet. Let's see. How do you begin each sentence? Do they always start? Look at the first 4 to 6 words in the sentence. If they always start subject, verb, object, that gets boring. That pattern gets boring. We've got to have some variety. And do you set them all? I am, he is, she did, there is, it was. I'm trying to remember can't remember if I said it to you guys because I know I've already said it once today. I looked at a draft yesterday and they were writing about how their mother was so very important in their life. And I love that. But every sentence began with, I did this, or she did this, and I got this. And to me, if every sentence begins with I, but you're writing about your mother, the essay's not about your mother, it's about you, right? So be careful about I said, she said, or I did, all that. If you're writing about another person, make sure that they are the focus and not you as the writer. And that's hard because children tend to be self-centered. Well, adults tend to be self-centered too. But, your world revolves around you and what affects you in your life. I get that. But writing, I don't want to read, if we're going to write about you, then write about yourself. Say, I'm a spoiled brat, and then tell me why you're spoiled. Give me the narrative of that. But don't sit there and say you're writing about your mom. Your mom was a great mom because she's always there for you. She does things for you. If you're going to do that, the focus should be on her, not on you. It'll be interesting saying that tomorrow to the class that has the person that wrote that too. Any sentences that are back-to-back like this, where you have I am, he is, she did, there is, underline and note to revise. You can always begin a sentence with a prepositional phrase, a dependent clause, one of the AWUBIS words, so that you can keep your reader interested in your writing. You can also add signal or transition words to guide your reader through the writing. So circle these words, that, this, these, those, there, it plus verb. They're very vague. If you say, there are many wonderful things to do in the Bahamas, why don't you say, the Bahamas have great activities to participate in. The Bahamas have great whatever. You can make it so much more interesting by getting rid of, there are many activities in the Bahamas. Okay? They're not interesting. Pronoun usage. Remove you, your, yours, and your. Okay? So, here we're going to have a lesson on how to use Word. I don't know if you have a Mac or a Chromebook. If you're working in Word, you've got this wonderful thing. Right after all the styles up here, where you've got all the different ABCDs and the different styles, there's a little bitty thing up here that says Find. You click on Find, and it brings up a navigation path. Oh, you can tell I've already had something in there. So I'm going to type in the word you. And look what happened. I don't even have to hit enter. And it tells me there are 52 uses of YOU in this document. This happens to be the Deep Personal Revision document. So I can go through it, and it shows me the third one. So we went back up to the top of the page. If I just want to check and see, I can click on anyone, and it will take me to that sentence where it occurs. All right? And I don't have to type in YOUR because YOU is part of YOUR. So that's an easy way. So you can get it out of your essay. The only time you can use you in your narrative in that essay or any other paper now is if it's dialogue or a quote from someone else. You do not address the reader. Now, the real catchy thing is I can put in the word just, because we like to say it was just the best thing in my life. It was just the best day of my life. It was just the worst day of my life. We like to use it as, it's like using the F word. We like to use it in all parts of speech. So we use just the same way sometimes. But you can see it's only used in mine twice, probably on a list of don't use those words. Okay? So then the really cool thing is I don't have to limit myself to words. I just put in a comma. There are 70 commas in my paper. And they're perfectly acceptable. Okay? All right? And the U's were acceptable because I was giving instructions on how to do the document, on how to do this. So, but you can see the commas. Some read the top, some read sentences 2, 3, 4. So if you have lists and so on. So you can check it out. I can jump down here. Actually, I'm going to go down even farther. Here's the one about sentence length. Do you need to revise to have more long, comma, medium, comma, or short? There's a list. So it allows you to read and see, do I have a list? Do I have 2 independent clauses on each side? or am I just, depends on what you're doing, okay? So that's fine, and that's very helpful. And I bring it up in pronoun usage because you and yours should not be in there. Watch out for we, us, our, and other pronouns like that. If you begin a sentence with we, I need to know who we is. Like, we went to the Bahamas in the summer of 2020, during the middle of the pandemic. So who's we? Is it you and your family? Is it you and a friend? Who was it? So you have to have some kind of antecedent to tell me what that is. Watch out for I feel, I think, I believe, I, and so on. So be careful of I. And replace with one, the reader. That's for you, your, yours, and your. One, the reader, a person, people, whatever. Be specific. Give me nouns. And when you use the pronoun, at least every other sentence, give me the noun. If you're writing about your brother, or somebody's writing about a cousin who passed away while they were while they were living in, not while they were here, but had gotten to know them in Mexico. So make sure you use their names. There's nothing worse than getting one and we don't know their name. Watch out for slang and informal words. Absolutely awesome, awfully, a lot of. By the way, a lot is 2 words, not one. If you go A-L-O-T, that's wrong, that's an error. If you go A-L-L-O-T, that doesn't mean all ought. It means like a portion. To allot something is to portion it out, or allotment, and that's wrong. They are not the same. You can see there's a lot of words up here. Fix and do, crazy, terrible, excellent. And here's a good tip. Don't use contractions. Spell them out. Because when you use contractions, you take the word it is, and it now becomes one word. So if you've got to have a 500-word minimum, get rid of your contractions, and you can add 5 or 6 words easily. Because we tend to contract a lot, even when we talk. So, but I don't have to put the punctuation in, okay? Proofreading. Here's a tip that I'm probably gonna offer solely for extra credit on the next essay. Read your paper from the last sentence to the first sentence. And when you take it out of context, then you're only looking for grammar, punctuation, mechanical errors. Makes sense, right? Actually, what I'll do on the compare and contrast essay is I'll actually have you get a return after every period, and then read it from the last to the top. And then it looks like an exercise, a grammar exercise is what it looks like. This takes you out of reading for content or meaning by reading the last sentence to the first. Point and say aloud each word in your paper. And maybe you'll pick up on those where you put were instead of where. W-H-E-R-E. You put W-E-R-E. It happens a lot. A lot. A space L-O-T. Okay. Do you have any fragments or a few sentences? Maybe you can pick those up. Are all apostrophes used correctly? It's my mom's brother's cousin's wife. Interesting. And are there typographical errors? Okay, I'm going to show you. Remember I talked about, I'll put it over here. Important. Somebody misspelled important. They put in T-E-N-T, and the computer defaulted to impotent instead. They don't mean the same thing, and it's not going to show up as misspelled because it's not misspelled. It's just the wrong word. If you're talking about the impotence of Japan versus the importance of Japan after World War II, 2 different things. Very different. So watch out. Commas. Circle all the commas in the end. Oh wait, I've got another one for you. And this is because I had a student who was a National Merit semifinalist. That's a limited few. It's not as great as being, you didn't get as much money as if you were a finalist, but was a semifinalist. Very smart individual, was writing a paper about their hero, Reese Witherspoon, who was going to write about dolphins, D-O-L-P-H-I-N-S. That's one of the things she's out to, her charitable work is to save dolphins. But instead of putting an O, she put an A. And what came up was this word, dolphin. Do you know what that word is?
Nope.
That was the name for the heir to the throne of France back in the day when they had kings. So when they're talking about saving the dolphins, I'm sitting there laughing because I think it's hilarious. Saving the dolphins in the water. The heir to the France is sitting in the water. So that's why you need to watch out what you're doing. You can be smart and still not spell words correctly. Okay? All right, let's go back and talk about commas. Again, circle all the commas in the essay. That's for your benefit. And now you know where they are because you can use that find button, okay? Check to see if it is a list. Make sure the final comma occurs before the Well, last item in the list, so if you say bacon, eggs, and toast, I wanna see bacon, comma, and I wanna see a space after that comma, then the word eggs, comma, space, and then the word and. So even though contemporary popular fiction leaves that comma out in the list, remember we're in English land, and we follow English land rules, okay? Do you have a fanboys conjunction in there? Is this two complete sentences joined by comma conjunction? Remember fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so? I've thought it enough that it's like a little rhythm for me. It's like going kingdom, final, class, order, family, genus, and species. I memorized that in, what was that, freshman physical science or something? Yeah, and I can still do that. I don't know what that'll mean. Because it's not a coordinating conjunction and never gets a comma in front of it when it's in the middle of a sentence. It's an awubis word. And that's true for all awubis words. Okay, I'm having allergy issues right now, sorry. Usage, using the correct word. Make sure you use the following words correctly in your sentences. That and which. Since and because. It's, no contractions, it's is possessive. To or to. I went to the store to buy 2 loaves of bread, but they were too expensive. I used all 3 twos in one sentence in the exact same order, okay? Who and whom? I'm going to tell you, most of the time don't use whom, just use who. I'm not going to count it wrong. Whom is going out of, it's becoming archaic. We just don't use it enough. And precede and proceed, or it's like loose, I should put that in there, loose and loose. Have you seen that?
Wouldn't whom be used as, to whom am I speaking to?
Yes, it's the objective case is what it is, but you don't often actually speak like that. Who am I, we wouldn't say, to whom am I speaking to? We go, who are you, who am I speaking to? See how it's different? Yeah, even though we split it up. Okay, loose and lose, loose and lose. This one is to lose a game. That's something, L-O-O-S-E is not tight, okay? It's loose. Your pants are loose, even though you just ate Thanksgiving, right? Okay. Fewer and less, that's a tough one. Affect and effect, about 90% of the time, the verb will be affect, and the noun will be effect. There, and there. All right, here's my tip. T-H-E-R-E is a possessive word. It was their job to clean the stands after the game. The job belongs to them, okay? And you'll notice the word H-E-I-R is in there, heir. That's somebody who owns something, it's been left to them, so there's possession. T-H-E-R-E, don't sit there, sit over there, or here. Sit here or there. See how you've got the directions in there?
Position.
Yeah, it's position, but then we have, there are many things to do in the Bahamas. That's always going to be T-H-E-R-E. Oh, wait, I did the contraction. There is a wonderful beach in the Bahamas. There we go. There are many beaches. If you don't do the contraction, you won't make that error. Then and then, I have to stop and think sometimes if I want to use then or then when I'm writing. So, and being, don't use being that it was Tuesday. Being, that's incorrect. You are not going to use being by itself. It's always going to need a helping verb with it, okay? So please don't say being that it was Tuesday, being this, being that. Don't do that. Oh, okay. Are you too conversational? Does it sound like you're talking, or do you use words that refer to speech? Say and tell. With that being said, see how I'm saying don't do that? I'm trying to get this done so you guys can leave a little early. Do not use questions. I do not like rhetorical questions. It's a lazy person's way to organize sometimes. And what happens if you don't answer the question? Then you have that problem, okay? They should never be used as a topic sentence. I have somebody, and it's like answering questions for the coach. I'm not knocking coaches. Just answer the questions at the end of the chapter, right? Come on, it's the easy way to do it. Your essays are not a series of questions that should be answered. You should be stating things. It shouldn't be something that I'm filling in information, okay? So, that is that, all right? So, for extra credit, the high schools need to complete this on a draft of your narrative and give it to your facilitator, so email it to me, and well and good, you just have to do it by Friday. They may not email it to me till Monday. You guys bring it with you on Monday to get the 10 extra points, okay? But I need to see that you've done the action. I need to see that you've got the links of the sentences, things like that. But again, that's a letter grade. 10 points is a letter grade, so. And if you don't do it, that's your choice. But don't come back to me middle of November say, I need extra credit, when I've given you extra credit earlier in the semester, okay? All right, so that's all I've got. Remember, it's not due until Sunday night, okay? And, did you ever get a draft turned in? Not yet? Have you done a draft? Okay, if you'll get it turned in, I'll look at it, I'll try to get comments made. You're just gonna have to go down, but you've got till Sunday, so that gives me a little more time to get all those responded to also. Because I've probably got about 25 or so to do, 25, 28, okay? Have a great weekend. Don't forget, you have chapters 6 and 7 quizzes tomorrow, between 8 and midnight, and then the narrative is due Sunday night, okay? Don't save my changes. I'll have to remember those. They're about being, I just hate seeing that, being that I was lost. Being that it was Sunday, no, since it was Sunday. Okay. I cringe on that.
I think it's funny, one of my coworkers always has a symbol that says "being."
Huh?
One of my coworkers always says the word "being," and I just,
Fine. The other thing that we need to watch out for is saying me and my mom. You wouldn't, yeah, you go, me and my mom went to town, you wouldn't say me went to town, would you? You would say I went to town, so watch out for that. I forgot to say that in the first class. But I keep seeing more and more me and my friend, me and whoever, me and my dad, so watch out. That's just good old West Texas, I'm gonna say it wrong. It's like saying would've, should've, could've, and then they write, what, would, OF, should, OF. Should be, should have. It's a contraction, that's why it's wrong. Okay, let's see here. You having trouble with your narrative?
yes, very much so.
What are you wanting to write about?
That is the thing I'm trying to write. I'm trying to change the world, or how I would like to change the world through my kind actions.
Okay. Well, let's just pick up a tough one here. Pick up a big, tough topic, okay?
And that is pretty much, the issue is basically how I'm trying to start, phrase, and basically just have the essay. So the way I was talking, mind if I write on?
That's okay, if it'll write. These are pretty dry. Would you rather write on a blank piece of paper over here for me? That might work better, because those are, I'm not gonna pull them out of my supply from my other building in here. They act like nobody teaches in here sometimes, so.
Yeah, I know it teaches in here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but pretty much the way I was taught
Okay.
was
I'm going in and changing something very quickly.
no, you're fine.
Just changing that 924 on the checklist to 926.
This was exactly how my high school taught it. And
In a paragraph?
yes, that
Okay.
is how my paragraph would be stated, and I want to write that way, but I'm trying to make it,
A narrative?
yeah.
Okay. So what are your, I have a problem with that you've got reason one. This should not be reason, it should be support one for this topic sentence, and support two.
I know, but that's how it was, exactly like,
Yeah.
and just to be
Reason
clear,
is-
these are high school coaches that
Yeah,
were
okay.
always like working a second, like, position, not
Yeah,
just.
so they're busy figuring out basketball or football plays, right?
Yes.
So, so tell me, what are your reasons that, what are you wanting to change about the world?
Pretty much, people don't base people off of appearance.
Okay, so you're talking about appearance? You're talking about judging.
Yes, judging off of appearance, not off of character.
Okay,
Second would be pretty much me trying to convince someone that we need more kind people in the world.
okay.
And I don't know how to exactly support that one. I just feel like the world gets a lot more done whenever we're kind to one
Mhm.
another.
Okay, we need to stop judging, we need to, start, okay, stop judging off appearance, start showing kindness to each other, and then, is that all you've got?
That's all I can think of from what I basically,
You can't hurt it, it's already been.
brainstormed from the top of, just for the introduction paragraph.
Okay, well, you can probably get 500 words off of these two, okay? So don't think of what they've actually given you is more of a thesis statement, okay? Thesis. The world needs to stop judging. I'm not going to write that all out because it takes so long. And to start showing kindness. See how we're doing it? Okay, so that becomes your thesis statement. So then, your second paragraph is going to be,
This is the only thing I have written down.
okay, and that's not even MLA. You just need to say Hogan. You don't need to. But that actually works for your second point, not your first point.
Alrighty, this?
Yeah, just look at it, it's in one act of kindness, it only takes one person and one act of kindness to inspire others to create change. So see how that becomes a support in the kindness paragraph.
Yes.
So, here's your thesis, there's your intro, and that's your thesis. Then paragraph 2 is gonna talk about stop judging. And so you can just give examples of how people, have you been judged on your appearance?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so then you give an example of that, say, too many people in the world judge on appearances. And I was thinking, it's really funny that you brought that up, because I was thinking, there was a Facebook post, and it shows an African or a Hispanic girl, and she's got these really rugged, the jeans are just ripped, and it's really gross looking. And what would you say to this person about their fashion choice? And it's telling me to judge that person. So that is a problem that we have, is that we judge on appearances. This could be a really nice person, but they've like holes in their jeans. It doesn't mean she's a slut, you know.
I mean, it's just a fashion.
Yeah, it's just a fashion. So stop judging, and so you can give a couple of examples. But
Just from my own personal experience.
Yeah, you can, or you can use yours, or if you have a friend of mine told me one time that, you know, they were dressed this way and somebody did that, so that becomes relevant. So you're trying to make this much more complex than it is. Do you get what you're doing? So then paragraph 3 is going to be show kindness, and that's where you don't begin with this quote, but in this quote. And now, who is Hogan? Is in?
Jennifer Hogan. She's an actress.
Okay, I'm not familiar with her. Doesn't mean that she's not a good actress. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Show kindness. So you're going to have a topic sentence that says, this might just say, people need to stop being critical or judging other
Your
people.
conference is scheduled to end in 2
In
minutes.
my life, this has happened. We need to stop that. You know, and so your introduction is basically going to go, you know, in such a large world with so many people having access to social media and instant communication, we've developed a certain meanness in spirit when we deal with other people. And so see how I'm getting to there. And so then your thesis is going to be, for the world to be a better place, society, humanity needs to stop judging people by their appearance and to start showing kindness to each other. See how that's very effective, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've been doing this a long time. Okay.
Yes, you have.
Okay.
That's why I'm staying behind to ask you.
Show
because
kindness. Okay.
outside of your class, I have my college algebra class, and that one feels overwhelming in its own right.
Yeah. Give
So
a
I
couple
ju-
of examples.
So just having 2 classes, I already feel overwhelmed. So it's kind of stressful.
Okay, so conclusion is going to be, if people do this,
So
do these 2 small things.
So we're basically going off of chapter, I believe it was, 1 that basically stated, we're giving the possibility or what we believe will happen.
But your narrative is, the world, you know, this is what's happening right now. In our world, but if we do these 2 things, then if people do these small things, then you tell me what is the
Outcome.
effect, outcome, whatever.
All right.
Okay? And that's how you organize it. So, get away from those things. Because really, by calling it a reason, these are reasons.
Your conference is now over.
Okay?
Goodbye.
We're just now leaving. Gosh, okay? So that'll get it done. Okay, and then you'll know not to misspell dolphins and dolphins.
Right, but yes, this is
Okay.
pretty much their exact phrasing and like how they taught me, that's
Well,
what,
and, you
that's why
know,
I'm concerned.
well, so, and I'm not saying, I'm just saying their terminology kind of implies something different. Support and a reason are different things.
Yes,
Or if they had said evidence one and evidence two, wouldn't that be better?
yes, it would have.
Because,
Reasons can basically differ from support. Support is more so logical, in my opinion.
yeah,
Reasons more personal.
well, reasons is a bigger topic.
Hmm.
And it's like one of the what are the reasons we need to not be intervening in foreign countries? Okay? That was the topic. My senior, the year after I graduated, the debate topic my senior year was, should the United States intervene unilaterally in foreign countries? And you had to argue, for and against it. So what are your reasons? So see how that's a much broader, those reasons are much bigger than the evidence that says we should not be in there because it's economically damaging is how much money we're spending on, So that's how you deal with that. Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and get that document sent.
Yeah, I have a tendency to overthink with writing.
And that means you put too much in. When you overthink, you're trying to cover all your bases. So if you just confine yourself to those 2 points, you're gonna get 500 words without any problem, okay?
Yes, I am. Especially with how flamboyant I basically make everything sound, or right, in this case. I mean, you saw how wordy I can get.
Okay, I'm gonna attach this. Oh, it's not, yeah, still, yeah, it is. Okay. All right, there we go. Leave.
Do you think I have the potential for writing, or at least passing your class?
Oh, yeah, I think you do. You just have to get your work done on time. That's the hardest thing, for a lot of students because there are really no penalties in high school.
No, it's not exactly that even. I just always had this class of 4 accommodations, and I'm trying to go without it this year.
Well, I would suggest that you get it from math, okay? I suggest you go ahead and get it, and it will help you with your math class. By trying to do math without that accommodation, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. I'm being honest. I had a guy who was in my